I'm aware, and I am sure that I'll hear from members of the Liberal Party that it wasn't a sole source procurement, but we heard yesterday from civil servants that this was not a tendered contract. There was no tendering process. There was no RFP. The contention is we wanted to get it done fast, so we did it. Okay, but why was this organization selected? There's a few distinctions about this organization that are a matter of the public record that that need to be considered. One of those considerations is that members of Justin Trudeau's family, including his mother, Margaret, and his brother, Alexandre, together benefited more than $300,000 in dealings with this organization, with We Charity. We know that the Prime Minister's wife is a spokesperson for this organization. We know that Justin Trudeau is regularly involved with this organization as well. We know that that Miss Gregoire Trudeau did at one time receive a speaking fee from this organization as well, prior to Justin Trudeau taking office as Prime Minister. So that's a lot of money. That's not an insignificant amount of money when we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, nearly $11,000 per engagement for Miss Margaret Trudeau. That's significant. We're here to talk about this first motion, and I heard from multiple members about how it would be inappropriate to call members of family members of an elected official to this committee, and that was, again, it was inferred that that's what was on offer here. Absolutely not. I'll tell you, the only member of the Trudeau family that I want to see at this committee is Justin. If he wants to come to this committee, that would satisfy me to no end. But that's not consistent with the behavior of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He obstructed the Ethics Commissioner's investigation in the SNC-Lavalin scandal. That is a fact. That is a matter of public record. It is in the Trudeau report too. He invoked cabinet confidence, which we heard from Minister Chagger in the House that was not the case when I asked her in committee 2 weeks ago. It's a fact. Did not waive cabinet confidence as promised.
It is definitely within the purview of our committee to investigate ethical breaches within public office holders. But to my colleague's statement, it is also a very important obligation within our committee that we handle these matters in a manner that is respectful and that is not dragging other people in. And so when Mr. Andrews, the former Liberal, was going after Dean Del Mastro, and I fought Dean Del Mastro every single day that he was here, I said that we had to have a proper process. And that's very important because we are not a kangaroo court here. I think the issue of the Trudeau family being involved, we have to be very careful of, because Madame Trudeau, Sophie Gregoire, has done a lot of really very impressive things. I have no interest in bringing her in any way into this story. Margaret Trudeau has inspired many people by her incredible work as a public spokesperson. I think it is a very terrible situation that we are even having to discuss Margaret Trudeau. Why this issue matters is about we and the relationship to the Trudeau government, because what we learned, and I was very surprised to learn this, that we began to hire members of the Trudeau family after Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister. And then we learned that other key people who, for example, Julie Black, an incredible public figure, was not paid. Theo Fleury wasn't paid. So it raises the question whether or not there was attempt to buy political influence. That, to me, is the issue before us. I think if the Liberals are concerned about how we have documents on members of the Trudeau family, I share that concern. I don't know that we're here to go after Justin's brother, who is a filmmaker. If he's a spokesperson for We and he got paid by them, he probably thought they were paying him because of his incredible skill as a filmmaker. That may be why he signed up. Our issue is whether or not there was an attempt to buy the influence of the government, because the financial interests of the Trudeau family, and we have become very convoluted and very connected. So that's what we need to clarify. So if the Liberals want to put a motion about how we discuss this, so that we are not bringing the Trudeau family and embarrassing them for their work that they do on the sidelines, but the Prime Minister should have known that because of those financial links, that this would have put him in a conflict. This is the Prime Minister's responsibility. I would like to see the Liberals say to us, okay, here's a deal. We will bring the Prime Minister to this committee and he will speak as to why he didn't think it was a problem that his family was being paid and that he was awarding this out. It's the Prime Minister's responsibility that I'm interested in. It's Bill Morneau's responsibility that I'm interested in. It's Katie Telford as Chief of Staff, who should have been looking after her Prime Minister and putting some kind of big ethical mitts around him so he didn't keep putting his finger in the conflict of interest socket. That's what I'm interested in. But I'm not interested in our committee being used to go after the individual members of the Trudeau family. And I agree that we can put in a limit on how that's done. We can talk about that. But I would like the Liberals to tell us that they're going to have that Prime Minister sit here and explain why he put his family in that position.
But I did want to remind members of this committee in my early learnings, under our conflict of interest, it is very clear. So despite the very liberal definitions of conflict of interest, I thought it'd be important for this committee to add the following contribution: that family members, relatives, are included 7 times in the Conflict of Interest Act, and that the following are the members of a public office holder's family for the purpose of his act: his spouse or her spouse or common law partner, and his dependent or dependent children and dependent children of his or her spouse or common law partner. Again, no interest in bringing any of those people before the committee. But relatives are persons who are related to a public office holder by birth, by marriage, by common law partnership, adoption, or affinity of the public office holder's relatives for the purpose of the act, unless the commissioner determines otherwise. And I'll go further to state later on in Part 1 of the Conflict of Interest Rules that for the purpose of this act, a public office holder is in conflict of interest when he or she exercises an official power, duty, or function that provides an opportunity to further his private interests or those of his or her relatives or friends, neighbors, to improperly further any person's private interests. I think that's a very germane and important point.